Hi, film friends. This is Mike White, and I wanted to do a little tutorial today about Technicolor, which sounds like a weird tutorial to do in the modern age, especially when folks are talking about 120 frames a second and 8K. But I'm actually working on a film that is kind of an homage to films in the 1950s. So I want to emulate Technicolor. Now, Technicolor, if you don't know much about it, was some of the first color process. It used a machine that shot 3 reels of film at a time, one exposed red, one green, one blue, and then they were overlaid over the top of each other. This advent happened in about 1950. Also, it was shot on primarily Kodak stock. So this, I won't get into it too much, but to make that film look, it ended up having really vivid reds and greens, and there were some really neat things about it that created a really cool look. And I want to be able to go ahead and have that menu film. So in order to do that digitally, there's a few things that we're going to need to do. I'm going to shoot in 4K, but I'm going to go ahead and grade the film and colorize the film so it's going to look like Technicolor. So after a lot of experimenting and trying a lot of different ways to do this, I think I found a really simple way to do this without adding to my workflow. Now, what I mean is that we have a lot of tools at our disposal. So rather than doing the film, and the primary idea was originally to shoot it in 4K on a Blackmagic Ursa camera, then bring it in and have it cut in Premiere Pro, then bring it over to DaVinci Resolve and colorize, which is all a pain in the butt for a film that doesn't have an extraordinary budget. So what we've got is a way to kind of simulate that, at least temporarily, until we can go ahead and find a better way to do this. And I think I've got a pretty good simulation. I'm going to do it with stills so you can kind of take a look at it and see how it works a little bit. Now, the students always tease me that I don't see color very well, so you can tease me all you like about it, but I'll kind of do my best as I go through this. Okay, so what we have here is a standard Premiere Pro setup. I didn't put video in here. I'm actually using stills to do this. The still I'm actually using is a still of Lindsay Bauer, the actress, that we're going to go ahead and use. Now, of course, this is not going to be quite like balancing actual film, and I realize that because it's going to be very different. But I wanted to go ahead and take this, create a similar size and similar color. Very fortunately, the stills that were shot at this time were also shot, many of them like on Technicolor promotional, not Technicolor, but on Kodak stock. So, and then they were also basically adjusted to be very similar to the actual film. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with this still, of course, and this was just a sample of the original that was brought over. I did a little bit of a resize earlier with this, so I've got a resize set up over here, and this is Lindsay. It's zoomed in a little bit. Very good, nice and soft. And then on the other side, I've got footage of Audrey Hepburn from, I think this is probably the early 1950s. I'm probably guessing here. But in order for us to go ahead and get a nice balance to be able to do a match here, I'm going to move this over. And I usually use reference stills or reference footage most of the time when I go ahead and do things. I'm going to go ahead and go to the effects panel and go ahead and create a crop out of this because I need to be able to do that. I've already got it. You'll notice I've already got it set up here. It says crop. I'm going to bring the crop over, drop this so I can get a split screen and be able to do this. This is really something I used to do back probably more in my days, as a video editor. Okay, so of course, when we actually cast the actress, we looked at her skin tones and stuff and tried to get a fairly decent balance and things too. But now we've got everything set up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the footage with Lindsay in it on the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a LUT in here. Now, before you attack me for using a LUT, I do have one that a lookup table that was very inexpensive, and it's a good one. So, and it is actually designed to emulate the three-strip process. So I'm going to go where it's called 3strip.cube. I think it was $1.99 when I actually bought this. It wasn't a big deal. So now I've added that in. Now you're going to notice there that you immediately went ahead and changed some of the ambers and a few other colors there as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit a little automatic adjustment here to go ahead and just have some basis to basically work from. So once I take a look at this, I've got a fairly decent 3-strip adjustment as we do this, but I want to go ahead and make a couple of little things as we go. The saturation tends to be very exaggerated when we do this. So what we want to do is As the saturation, or I should say the contrast goes up, we're going to have to adjust the exposure. So we're going to go up on the contrast a little bit here, and it's got to be quite a bit to go ahead and get what we need, because these adjustments are going to be really extreme. They're going to seem like, whoa, I never adjust stuff that much, but you probably will have to. The saturation also is going to go up a lot when we go ahead and do this. And earlier I did some experimentation where I was going up as high as 300 on this. I don't think that's actually necessary. I'll wheel it up to 300 so you can kind of see the craziness of that, but I think that's a little much. And of course it's all orange and stuff. So let me go ahead and go back down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this adjustment down to closer to the 100 range is what we're going to do here. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and click here and make this about 100. And then we're going to get closer there. And then, of course, our exposure is going to be a little bit out of whack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this a little bit closer in exposure level. People who work with me know I like to dive my blacks. So I'm going to get in here and do a little bit of black adjustment to kind of get a little bit more. Lindsay, of course, is colored much differently, of course, too. Yeah, see if I go up on this, it kind of gets weird on me, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to go down. I'm going to dive it. I usually dive to about there. So I'm going to go ahead and dive my blacks a little bit. As far as the shadows go, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do probably a little bit of a dive adjustment in the shadows too. I'm probably going to go down probably about 10 or 15 in here. Get this kind of closer to where I want it to be. She's wearing a little brighter lipstick here too. As far as the highlights go, don't usually mess around with that. My temperatures, though, I will usually mess with a little bit. Now, this is kind of up 10, and go to a tint, which is 10 a little bit too. Let's see, we'll try about like that and see where we get. So then what I'm getting is I've got this more, notice we've got the more vivid reds here and stuff as we do this. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull Audrey off here for a second. And then I'm able to have a lot more of the color that I was looking for. Now this is the original, or this is the original, and this is our Technicolor version. Now you could say, oh well, Mike, it's awfully red and stuff too. Yeah, it probably is a little bit red, but that's really kind of the nature of how things look with this. Now, and of course I could go in and kind of make some changes in this. I'm going to go back down to 100 here, and I could go ahead and I could try to cool it off a little bit. Kind of go that way, take a little bit of the red out of it. But I don't want that. I want it to look a little bit red because that's really a lot more like what it's like. Now, you can go ahead and do an HSL secondary adjustment on this. So you can also go here, select your reds, and then what you can do is you can go ahead and you can kind of plunge your reds up or down if you wanted to. So you can go even, go crazy with that. You can also go more specific too. You can go ahead and do a selection. Grab this, and let's see, maybe I want to exaggerate the lip there a little bit. I can go ahead and I can try to get in there and amp up just that one color a little bit if I want to, and kind of go a little crazy that way. You can do that in a lot of different ways, not necessary, but that helps us a little bit. So again, what I'm looking for is I've got the original stuff versus our kind of Technicolor emulation there. And it does work pretty well. I mean, we can take this, and then I've got basically a reference point. Now, of course, you can go ahead and this is the 3-strip. You can do this as a 2-strip as well. So let me go ahead and we're going to browse this, and we'll try the 2-strip color. That's versus the old 2-strip process, which is a little different, but really I'm not seeing much of a change there. It looks pretty similar. So we can go ahead and do that. Now, if you do this, what you would do is as you lay your edit in, you can always do the copy attributes, of course, which I think people are pretty familiar with. So you're going to go copy, and then when you would paste, you would go ahead and paste the attributes only. So I'm going to go over here to the unfinished one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit paste attributes, and I can go ahead and it's got all the different things, mapping, but whatever. But I'm just going to hit here, and then of course it matches. Now, of course, when you color, you should go through and color every single edit, every single clip should be colored slightly differently to make sure they match. So everything should be colored individually. So also with this, I probably will lay a little bit of a grade or a grain over the top of it so it looks a little bit different. So that's kind of your quickie lesson in how to do simulated Technicolor. So we're going to see how this turns out. Okay, thanks guys.